artist, I go, damn, when is he gonna have his moment? Like, Fat, I said this. I think his, what's the name, cuffing season was that.
You was up in toxic all summer. Now it's getting chilly, that's the fall coming.
But it wasn't it wasn't the hit like that because it was talking exactly about what was going on.
This is the story of how a single podcast interview reignited the most explosive Dipset beef in nearly 2 decades, turning former brothers into bitter enemies and creating the most unlikely alliance in hip-hop history. Camron hosting 50 Cent on his YouTube show in December 2024 seemed harmless enough at first, but what came out of that conversation has spiraled into an all-out war with Jim Jones firing back, Fabolous picking sides, and 50 Cent doing what he does best by trolling everyone into oblivion. Based on everything that's happened since, this thing is nowhere close to being over, so let's break down exactly how we got here, who's aligned with who, and why this beef might have just killed any chance of a Dipset reunion forever. December 2024 is when the fuse got lit. Camron brought 50 Cent onto his podcast network called You're Welcome, for what looked like a friendly conversation between 2 rappers who had already squashed their own beef back in 2016, and nobody expected what would come out of it. The conversation turned to February 2007, and that's when things got real. 50 Cent and Dipset were going at it hard during that period, after 50 called Coke's Records a graveyard for rappers on Hot 97.
At the moment, but the way he brought La Marina.
You was in La Marina all summer.
And all of the stuff, it was the hottest joint.
What was going on
in that summer.
Exactly at the time in the town.
So I'm like, yo, I jumped on the remix.
Which led to the Coke CEO calling in live on air and passing the phone directly to Camron. Their exchange got heated, and Cam started calling 50 by his government name Curtis, a move that 50 actually embraced by naming his 3rd album after it. Here's what really stung for Camron, though. While all of that was happening, Jim Jones and Joel Santana performed at a G-Unit show, meaning his own Dipset brothers took the stage with his enemy. On the December 2024 podcast, Camron finally opened up about how that moment affected him. His exact words were that they were having interior problems at Dipset that nobody knew about, and when his own members went to 50's show while they were battling, he felt like things were spinning out of control. He called it a checkmate moment. 50 Cent then confirmed something that Camron probably suspected but had never heard directly. The invite to Jim Jones wasn't random at all. 50 admitted he saw Cam having a moment with the Ballin' Success and decided to take his shot, adding that he wanted Cam to know they liked Jimmy better anyway. That admission that 50 intentionally exploited the cracks in Dipset to destabilize Camron's leadership set everything in motion for what came next. January 6, 2025 brought Jim Jones onto Justin LeBoy's Respectfully podcast, and he came in swinging from the start. When the topic of Camron and 50 Cent discussing him came up, Jones held nothing back. He said those guys stay on his business and don't have anything else to think about but Capo, adding that he did a lot for both of them in their lives before telling them to get off him. The attacks on Camron's leadership came next. Jones claimed Cam couldn't pull anything together and couldn't tell him what to do because nobody could tell him anything since he was his own boss, who did what he wanted. His explanation for performing with 50 Cent back in 2007 centered on self-preservation. Jones put it this way. He saw things weren't going right, so he started doing what Jim Jones needed to do for Jim Jones because the guy who was supposed to be the Don wasn't taking care of the Capo. One of the pettiest claims in hip-hop beef history dropped during this same interview. Jones stated that he's the one who inspired Camron to start wearing pink during Dipset's peak years. And anyone familiar with Camron knows that pink became his signature look, making this an audacious thing to take credit for. Jones also took shots at Camron for calling Hot 97 during the Coke Records situation, calling it childish and questioning how Cam could do something that weak when he didn't come outside during times that required real action. A week passed before Camron addressed everything on his podcast It Is What It Is, that he co-hosts with Maze, and this response might be the most brutal moment in the entire conflict.
Because the director was going without us.
Wake up, you love it, she want the limelight. She about to get you in some shit, boy, get your mind right.
Like for a lyricist, like a guy that's that intricate. But the writing, he didn't have a full-on moment that was like.
Jim Jones' Harlem credentials took the first hit. Camron called him a guardian angel and designer and stated flatly that Jones is from the Bronx, not Harlem, and that they didn't grow up together. Harlem identity carries major weight in hip-hop since Dipset represented that borough, so questioning whether Jim Jones even belongs to that world strikes at his entire foundation. The story of how Jim Jones joined Dipset came next, and it painted an unflattering picture. Camron's version is that Jones wasn't around when they were blowing up in the streets before the internet era, when everyone knew they were about to land a record deal. According to Cam, Jones heard their freestyles and approached him one day saying he'd heard the mixtapes, that they were killing it, and that his grandmother had died so they were welcome to come hang out at his place. Camron's conclusion was harsh. He called Jones fanned out and said he begged his way into the group after hearing those mixtapes, saying that's how he got in. The math Camron laid out puts the whole situation in perspective. The Dipset movement ran from 2001 to 2006 or 2007, roughly 7 years total, but their disputes have now stretched to about 15 years, meaning they've spent more than twice as long beefing as they ever spent actually working together. Nobody expected 50 Cent to stay quiet during all of this. The man thrives in situations like these, and Instagram has become his weapon of choice for relentless trolling. The individual one attacks have been constant, with 50 repeatedly referencing the 9 Trey Gangsta Bloods RICO case that involved Tekashi 6ix9ine. The implication is that Jones cooperated with law enforcement. One post from 50 read that individual one is calling the shots out here and that he knows Jones is working, so please don't say gangster stuff to him.
Like, Fab's the period right now. Like, he had a lot of hit records on R&B artists, like a lot of real hot verses that came, but it was on somebody else's joint.
Jim Jones' career took hits too. 50 wrote in a now-deleted post that Delusional Jomo only has one song and that Ballin' was written by Max B. December 2025 brought the nuclear option. Jim Jones and his podcast crew had criticized 50's Netflix documentary about Diddy, calling it a mockumentary, and 50 responded by leaking alleged audio from Jones's landlord claiming somewhere between $80,000 and $250,000 in unpaid rent. His post labeled them squatters who owe $250,000 for their podcast space while trying to win Best Dressed awards when they can't pay their bills. 50 Cent went beyond just talking about it, though. He stated that this wasn't on his list of things to do, but he'd make time if they insisted, and that he was working on buying the space where they film along with 50% of their podcast, finishing with his trademark line that he doesn't cap. The Netflix documentary numbers give 50 serious leverage in this situation. That Diddy project pulled 21.8 million views in its first week alone. So when Jim Jones dismissed it, 50 had both the receipts and the resources to follow through on his threats. The title might suggest Fabolous was beefing with Jim Jones, but the reality is the complete opposite. Fabolous stands as Jim Jones's ally throughout all of this, since they co-host a podcast together called Let's Rap About It, alongside Mino and Dave East, which means when 50 Cent started calling them squatters, the whole crew took it as a personal attack.
And I know Maine, he likes to fall in love every night, so I got you.
Yo, what, pig horsepower?
Got the nigga a panther?
Christmas Day 2025, December 25th specifically, saw the podcast crew release something they called the Squatters' Rights Freestyle, where they rapped over 50 Cent's classic beats including Window Shopper and I'll Whip Ya Head Boy. Fabolous came hard with bars referencing 50's TV series Power and allegations about his ex Daphne Joy's connection to Diddy. He flipped 50's hit Magic Stick with lines about window shoppers not really buying anything and references to making tops disappear. The Squatter label became something the crew leaned into completely. Fabolous joked that he's not leaving and even floated the idea of renaming the show to Let's Squat About It. The battle lines are now clear. Camron and 50 Cent stand on one side while Jim Jones and Fabolous hold down the other, and nobody predicted this arrangement when 2024 started. The full weight of this situation requires understanding the history behind Dipset. Summer of 1997 saw the group form in Harlem when Camron and Jim Jones joined forces, with Freaky Zeke as an original member, and Juelz Santana coming aboard in 1999. Camron's background before Dipset included a group called Children of the Corn featuring Big L, Maze, and others, which dissolved after Big L's murder in 1999. Rockefeller Records signed Dipset in 2001 for a reported $4.5 million, and their album Diplomatic Immunity arrived on March 25, 2003. That record hit number 8 on the Billboard 200, reached number 1 on the R&B hip-hop charts, and earned gold certification. Camron's solo work brought its own success. Come Home With Me climbed to number 2 on the Billboard 200 and went platinum, while Hey Ma featuring Joel Santana peaked at number 3 on the Hot 100.
Boom, 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 boom. Ain't no hate on this show, bro. We got big horsepower for that ass.
I ain't gonna hold you though. This piggy.
His track Oh Boy reached number 4 and spent 5 weeks sitting at number 1 on the R&B hip-hop singles chart. Jim Jones had his breakthrough too, with We Fly High reaching number 5 on the Hot 100 and earning platinum status, while Hustler's POME landed at number 6 on the charts. All that success couldn't keep the group intact though. The internal problems Camron mentioned were real, and that 2007 performance with 50 Cent served as the most public display of those fractures. The first public beef between Camron and Jim Jones erupted in 2009 when Jones dropped a diss track called Free Enemies, and they announced a truce in April 2010, but those wounds clearly never fully closed. This beef has maintained its intensity throughout 2025 with no signs of cooling down. January 16, 2025 brought Jim Jones to Instagram teasing a diss track called Jomo that he released 2 weeks later on January 31st. Joel Santana finally broke his silence on January 26, 2025, refusing to pick a side. He said this isn't something he condones and that both of them remain his brothers, adding that nobody wins when the family feuds. He pointed to podcast culture as the accelerant making everything worse, which carries some irony given that podcasts have hosted most of this beef. The Breakfast Club appearance on February 27, 2025 featured Jim Jones issuing a direct challenge to Camron. He called Cam a birdhead who doesn't want smoke and claimed he'd box his head off, demanding to know where the ring is. Jones said if Cam is getting money and hanging with Mayweather's people, then put up $10 million right now and he'll catch a flight anywhere to meet him in the ring.
That's that pinky right there.
You about to take it right now? Don't take that if you ain't got nothing going on.
Because if you
ain't got nothing going on,
do not have a scoring situation, no problem.
Make sure you
word up.
February 28, 2025 marked the release of Jim Jones' album At the Church Steps. Texts that 50 Cent and Camron leaked claimed the project moved only around 3,600 album equivalent units, though that number hasn't been officially verified. 50 Cent closed out the year with a warning about 2026. His post offered a toast to success, health, and prosperity while explaining he's planning his new year, and when he's done with that work, he'll come out to play. He finished by noting that everyone who plays with him eventually wishes they hadn't. That reads like a threat and a promise combined into one statement. What separates this situation from typical rap beefs is that both sides have stated publicly that they don't see any path forward. Jim Jones told Ebro on Apple Music's Rap Life Radio that there's definitely no brotherhood anymore, and he can't foresee that being fixed, at least not right now. Camron has expressed similar sentiments on Memphis Bleek's podcast, pointing out that their years of disputes have now exceeded the time they actually spent functioning as a group. The sadness underneath all of this is hard to ignore. These are guys who came up together, built something special, and achieved a level of success that most rappers only dream about. Diplomatic Immunity is a classic record, and the Dipset movement shaped an entire era of hip-hop fashion, music, and culture. Now everything has been reduced to Instagram posts, podcast shots, and arguments about unpaid rent. August 2021 brought Dipset face-to-face with the Lox in a versus battle at Madison Square Garden. They lost that night, but seeing them share a stage at all felt like progress.
Do it, man, do it. Do it, man, do it. Do it, man, do it. Do it, man, do it.
Gotta slam that shit on the floor, nigga.
Looking back now, that might have been the last time they'll ever perform together. The current state of affairs leaves two clear factions standing opposite each other. Camron and 50 Cent occupy one side, two guys who spent years as enemies but have now bonded over shared issues with Jim Jones. Jim Jones, Fabolous, Mano, and Dave East hold down the other side through their podcast partnership, firing back whenever shots come their way. Joel Santana continues attempting neutrality, which might be the smartest play available given everything that's happened. A conversation about a 17-year-old betrayal has exposed wounds that clearly never healed. The alliance between 50 Cent and Camron, something that would have seemed impossible given their 2007 beef, shows how drastically hip-hop relationships can shift. Fabolous standing with Jim Jones through their podcast has drawn battle lines that nobody expected. 50 Cent is promising more attacks in 2026, and Jim Jones has called reconciliation impossible, which means this Dipset civil war shows no signs of ending. Everything points to further escalation. If you want to see how this all plays out, make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell because this story is definitely not over. So what do you think? Is there any chance Dipset ever gets back together? Or is this beef officially the nail in the coffin? Let me know in the comments.